Welcome to The Guardians, a podcast by Independent Trustee Services. Here, we explore the conversations that matter in protecting South Africa's retirement future, from governance and compliance to independence and member protection. Each episode brings you insights from experts and industry leaders, with one clear purpose: to help trustees, employers, and members build stronger, safer retirement funds.
Hello and welcome to today's episode, the podcast where we unpack the most important issues affecting retirement funds. I'm your host, Sunash, and today we're diving into what is a very critical topic: risk in pension funds, what trustees and administrators need to look out for when it comes to managing risk and ensuring compliance. Why does this matter? Well, because pension funds are not just numbers on a balance sheet, if I may put it that way. They are representative of members' life savings, their future security, and their dignity in retirement. A single oversight in risk management or in compliance can have devastating consequences. So we've seen this right here in South Africa, and there are a number of high-profile cases. One that comes to mind for me is the NEFG missing retirement funds, where governance failures and reckless investments practices have put member savings into a serious risk, and some members have even lost their funds. The FSC continues to issue compliance fines to funds and to administrators who fail to meet reporting obligations. These examples show us that poor risk management is not theoretical. It is really has hard-hitting consequences, and it affects the lives of real people. So here for me to unlock it further, I'm joined by my guests, Ms. Bongi, a Chartered Principal Executive Officer who has extensive experience in fund governance and administration. A warm welcome to you, Bongi. It is really great having you today here on the show.
Thank you, Sunash. Thank you for having me.
I want to jump straight into it, right? So let's start with the basics so that we lay the foundation for people that are listening in today. Mm-hmm. Why is risk management such a critical issue in pension funds?
I must say that risk is very critical in the pension funds because we hold people's savings. It's lifetime savings. And so any failures, fraud, weak oversight, non-compliance, it directly affects the members of the retirement funds, which means their retirement benefits will no longer be there. As you've already mentioned, the scandal of NEFG. Then if there's no risk, fraud, yes, it does affect some of the members.
Sure. Yeah, that's an eye-opener, hey? And true, we saw that exactly that with the NEFG scandal. Once trust is broken, it becomes so difficult to rebuild. And it doesn't just affect the fund, it affects the industry as a whole. Definitely. So it's not just about the members in the system, it's about protecting their livelihoods. Let's dig a little bit deeper into the types of risks that trustees and administrators need to watch out for. So my question is this: what would you say are the biggest risks that funds face today?
First of all, the risk management itself, it builds the sustainability and trust. So without the trust, or even a well-invested fund can collapse due to controls. So the biggest risks that I can think of, going back to fraud, so if trustees, auditors, asset managers or asset consultants, even the administrators are involved on the fraud, then it means there's a high risk out there.
So misappropriation.
Yes. In all the industry itself. So even what I can think of right now, we're busy with cyber security, data breach. If the criminals out there can access that, it means that's also a big risk to the funds, because now they will need some money to be compensated so that they can bring back the data that
that has been
breach.
breached.
Yes.
Yeah. So I would almost say, in summary, from what you're saying, things like fraud and misappropriation, as we said, there's your operational risks.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Then there's compliance risks.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes.
And now, and we see this all over, not just even in the insurance industry. Cybersecurity threats is becoming a massive issue.
It is. And again, when you mentioned operational risk, if the administrators they misallocate the contributions of the members, when you leave now, it means you'll go maybe with lesser amount that you should have,
Yeah, again, eating into members' funds.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Oh, definitely. Complete compliance risk. I mean, if we're not keeping up to date with the authority, what is needed, non-compliance is not is an issue as well.
Yeah.
So, those are the biggest risks that I can think of at the moment.
Tell me, communication failures, is that a risk as well?
Definitely is also a risk, because anything that is happening on a fund, you need to let members know. So if you don't communicate anything, members will be sitting at home
100%.
thinking that their money is growing.
They're in the dark,
Only to find out later when they go on retirement, there's nothing left.
Sure. Yeah. No, I get you. So that's quite a list, Bongi. Which of these do trustees tend to underestimate the most from the list that we're talking about now? We've listed a number of them. What would you say is the one that is the most underestimated?
We talk about the cyber security as well. Sometimes you get those emails, and then as a trustee, you just open it, click it, and then the data is gone for the members.
Yeah, you blindly trust the email coming in. Eh? Yeah.
Yes. So over-reliance on the service providers as well. You it's a one-stop shop. You rely on your administrator to do your admin, to do your assets, to do consulting. That is also, trustees, they do underestimate that. As well as, when the compliance, they think that once we hire or we appoint a service provider, so automatically those people will do
everything is going to be in order. Correct.
As a trustee, you still do the independence checks. You need to know if all things are still going into order.
100%. That is an excellent point. So the FSCA has fined several funds in recent years for exactly this: trustees failing to provide adequate oversight, assuming administrators are doing everything that they should do, and that everything is under control.
Yes.
What, though, are the key compliance requirements for pension funds?
For pension funds, firstly, you need to be regulated. So if you as a trustee do not check if your administrator is got a license to do all these things, so you need to make sure as a trustee you know what is needed, the transparent reporting to the stakeholders, and the governance structures. Are these governed as well? The governance, ethical investment principles. We need to know, are the monies, are they invested on time and where they need to be invested as well? So, yes.
This is serious business, eh? This is serious business.
Yes, it is.
Bongi, what are the consequences of non-compliance in our industry?
I can mention a few. We have financial penalties. FSCA, which is the authority, then would give penalties to the companies, or some companies would not comply with their contributions. They don't pay them. They would deduct monies from the members and then not pay them through.
Yeah. I've recently seen an article where something like 7.3 billion worth in contributions have not been paid over. It's horrific to hear these things.
It is horrific, because at the same time, when you go home, you see a net only to find that nothing was transferred. Recently, last year, they introduced the two-pot system. Yes. People tried to make withdrawals, only to find that
there's no money.
There was no money.
Sure.
Yeah, it's just not on. And then some instances where the trustees are not following, they are non-compliant, they do take legal actions against them, which is the FSCA. How that goes far, I'm not sure if it's really stemmed in this industry, because sometimes other people have done non-compliance, but you still see them serving on the other boards.
Sure. So it almost seems as if the wheel is moving too slowly on these things, right?
Yeah. So we really need to see that happening. If trustees are non-compliant or they not doing what they're supposed to be doing, then legal actions, as same as with employers, because they also form part of this whole thing. They need to act properly, because when they take those contributions and not transferring them.
Sure. And that can lead to member mistrust.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so basically the consequences right now as it stands, you've mentioned financial penalties from the FSCA, obviously legal action that can arise from this mismanagement, you're losing members' trust, and this spreads toward the industry, and it leads employers to not want to actually start saving on behalf of the employees. And then there's obviously the worst one, which could be potential fund closure, and members lose their funds altogether. So the consequences is really devastating.
It is, and now it means you must start from scratch, from savings. I mean, retirement funds, like we're saying, is your lifetime savings. And we know we don't save, as at least with a retirement fund, it's there. And recently you cannot even touch that.
Yeah.
So it means if members don't have enough money for savings, then they go back to the government when they retire.
Absolutely.
So they end up being on the SASSA grants, and which
we know is merely not enough to survive.
No.
We know that, yeah.
Yes.
So Bongi, how does the regulator monitor these pension funds on an ongoing basis?
They do audits every year. We need to prepare our financial statements. We send them through to the FSCA. Sometimes they do question what they feel like it's not making sense. And they do monitor it by, sometimes they would just do a desktop review, which is FSCA would ask documentation just to see if the fund is still compliant, governance and all those documents, rules, if the fund is run by the rules, or we just make up stuff as it goes.
Yes.
As the fund. Yeah. The other reporting requirements by FSCA.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So there definitely are regular periodic reviews. There's consequences, as we've discussed, but that's from the regulator side. The first line of protection, though, are the trustees. Am I correct in saying that? So what are some of the blind spots that trustees often miss out when it comes to this sort of risk?
Trustees tend to, as administrators, I'll always go back to the administrators because the work is mostly done from there. So they rely mostly on the service providers. And some would offer them gifts. And now when tender comes, but because you've already received a gift, you feel sorry for Sunash.
Sure.
So now I'm obliged to give Sunash something, give this tender to Sunash
right.
because I've already received some gifts.
Yes.
Those are the blind spots.
Sure.
So the trustees, they think that, Sunash is so nice and all of that. You don't know if Sunash is hiding stuff, hence he just gives you...
Pulling the wool over your eyes, yes.
Yes, exactly. And again, as a fund, you would have experts and advisors on the fund. So don't just take that. You just need to do your own independent checks.
Okay.
As a trustee. Don't just take whatever the advisor is saying, then we go, because at the end of the day, it goes back to you as a trustee of the fund. Everything that is happening on the fund, it relies on you. Automatic compliance, we already touched on it. Once you think that a service provider is appointed,
everything is taken care of.
Everything is taken care of.
Sure.
They would come to you, no, we know so and so. No, you just signed, the changes, unexplained changes in the investment strategies of the fund. Other asset consultants, they would just go and do because the trustees, they rely on them.
You're thinking they're the experts, they know what they're doing,
yes,
right?
Yes, they know what they're doing.
Yep,
but you as a trustee, your fiduciary duty, what is it?
Sure.
Is
ask the questions.
Oh, yes.
Sure.
Difficult ones as well, but
correct.
Respectful. So
sure.
Don't just ask.
Well, I guess that brings me to a point where it's so important for there to be a level of independence from the benefits consultant.
Oh, yes.
To ask those difficult questions.
Oh, yeah.
To make sure things are in line, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, Bongi, what would you say are some of the early warning signs that trustees should look out for when it comes to this sort of thing?
I must say, to miss deadlines. You would have a service provider. They know what they're supposed to be doing, but they miss a deadline. And some of them, they don't even communicate to the trustees.
Yeah.
You only find out later that we are already late.
So these are sort of your red flags, right?
Oh, yes. That is a red flag. And even if you miss a deadline the first year, you can't be missing a deadline every year on something.
Yep.
So as a trustee, you must take note on that. Contributions that are not allocated, the late contributions, they're friends with the directors, they're friends with administrators. They don't even say anything to the trustees. So that too as well.
Yeah.
You find out later as a trustee.
Sure. So sort of lack of transparency there, yeah?
Oh, yeah. And then you come and ask them to the board and explain themselves. They go over complicated explanations, and you as a trustee as well, you end up not knowing whether you're the one who's wrong.
Sure.
Or
sure. Yeah.
Because
I've seen that happening. I've seen that happening, and that is a red flag.
It is a red flag.
Yeah.
So you must watch those things. And again, when they tender for this, they would give you a team. And then in between, this time comes to the board and presents. The second time is a different
set of people. Yeah.
Then, whatever you had to ask in this meeting, they will tell you, no.
I have to refer back.
Yes, you will go back because so-and-so is
so
not
no
here.
Continuity.
Oh, no.
No continuity,
Yes.
which is extremely important in running a fund in compliance.
It is.
Now, Bongi, great points. So spotting the risk is the first step, right? But how do we actually manage them? Let's dig a little bit deeper into risk management practices, right?
Yeah.
So once the trustee now knows the risk involved, and we've discussed the risks now at length, and you've made some excellent points, how do trustees now manage these risks effectively? Because we know there are going to be risks. You're never going to walk into a fund where there's no risk. Legislation is constantly changing. It's a changing environment. You guys need to be on point all the time.
Yeah.
How do you manage this effectively?
You can manage it by doing those independent checks, you yourself as trustees. In some funds, what we do, even if the asset consultants will come to us and say, there's this much on the fund, is invested somewhere, but are you sure? As you've mentioned with NEFG scandal, because I feel like some of the stuff fell on cracks because there were no checks done by the board, if I may put it that way.
Sure.
So what we do on some funds, you as the PO, or you talk to your board that I really want to see if there's money for the members, because it's just black and white, printed paper in front of you being presented. But how sure are you
100%.
if there's money?
So you sort of need a clear reporting framework.
Oh, yeah.
That must be abided by everyone.
Yes.
Okay.
And you need to have proof to that asset manager to confirm it. To say, yes, if you say the fund has R1 billion, is invested in my, as an asset manager, you need to give us proof. So those are the checks that you as a trustee, you also need to do independently. So compliance reviews, you can do those quarterly, just to see if the fund is still compliant, because we know non-compliance comes with fees, and those penalties sometimes they come off members' benefits. I mean, you didn't do your job, but then somebody must pay for your failures into this.
And of course, these reviews and audits must be independent. Because you cannot mark your own homework, right?
No. No, you
cannot. So it has to be independent.
It has to be independent. And again, trustee training. Like I mentioned, to rely so much, I feel like you rely so much on service providers sometimes because you're not trained enough as a trustee. So a training, it needs to be an ongoing thing to the trustees. You need to know the updates, what is new in the market, what is needed as a fund. Ongoing trustee training, yes, is also needed.
Okay. And I was reading an article, I think it was in the Financial Mail. You have to develop a culture of speaking up.
Oh, yes.
Right? You may not be popular, but you need to speak up when it comes to noticing anything that is offline.
Definitely.
And bring it up in a way that's respectful, yet in a way that is protecting the members' interests.
Definitely. You must encourage that openness with the service providers.
Yes.
It has to be there. Otherwise, they won't tell you anything.
Sure, absolutely.
They will just hide it and then 100%. You will see it later. Yeah.
So we've spoken now about managing these things effectively and some of the things that we can do, but you almost need to have a culture around this, right? How do you develop or build a culture of risk awareness in a pension fund? It can't be easy.
Okay, while we were talking about how to manage the risk as well, when you prepare agendas, you need to have that as part of an item so that it's there.
Yes.
And when the chairperson comes to that
constantly
item,
reminded.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Then the board can talk about those things. Okay, so the awareness, is that what we are talking about right now?
Yeah, so how do we build that culture of risk awareness in a pension fund? There certainly must be a couple of things that trustees can do and that the board can do to do that.
Trustees themselves, they need to lead by example. Like we mentioned, ask those difficult questions. When you ask them, at least you want clarity. And then once all things are cleared, then you know why the things that are happening in your fund, and you will know what is happening on your fund.
Yep.
And align your compliance with members' interests. We do put our members first. Treat your customers fairly. Yes. And we encourage the openness, of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think also we need to encourage being proactive as opposed to being reactive.
That too.
I think too many times in our industry, we're trying to solve a problem after it has happened. Definitely. As opposed to having a solution in place before it happens so that it doesn't happen. Oh, yeah. So proactivity for me, I think, needs to be part of a culture of a board.
Oh yeah, definitely. And service providers must just feel safe, to raise concern, not to feel scared that if I raise this and then now
I'm gonna be ostracized. Yes, correct.
Yes, we need to be problem solvers, not so finders.
Yeah, 100%.
Problem finders.
I'm with you. Agreed.
Yes.
Agreed. Okay, so we're winding this podcast down and coming to an end. So 3 things. Give me 3 things that trustees should focus on. What would that be? If I have to ask you for 3 things, top layer, what would that be?
I would say invest in ongoing trustee training.
Knowledge is power, right?
It is power.
Yep.
Let's not just take minimum qualification, which is a trustee toolkit, and then it stays there, and then we can equip our trustees further. And what I've noticed in the industry is that a member elected trustee, they almost differ to employer appointed trustee, because I assume that employers, most of the time, they check on the skill. They see, okay, if you're going to be there, we're going to need an accountant or an auditor who's in HR. They always come up with all those skills.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
yeah. Whereas in our side of member elected trustees, I feel sometimes we don't look at, I'm not saying they're not there.
Yes.
Oh, they are there. But in some instances, I feel like there are not enough skills. So once they come in on the board, let's make sure train them.
Correct.
Let's not leave them outside there.
Sure.
And then they will end up relying on the service providers because they don't have knowledge.
Otherwise, they're just a number sitting on the board.
Yeah.
They're not really giving input, right?
Exactly. So another thing is strengthen the compliance monitoring. Don't just rely on the service providers. Do those independent checks, you as a trustee or the board. Equip them, update and review the risk register quarterly, and make sure all is in order in the fund. Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay, so in summary, update and review the risk register, as you say, at least quarterly. Strengthen your compliance monitoring.
Please.
And invest in ongoing trustee training.
Please.
Have I got that right? Those are your three things.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Finally, what's the one piece of advice that you'd give to trustees who are listening in on this right now? I know there's probably plenty of advice you want to give. One piece.
I'm not allowed to give advice, Sunash, but what I can say is that risk management is not a once-off. It's continuous. Trustees must always remember their fiduciary duties, protect members at all costs, at all time. That's all I can say. Brilliant.
I think you've summarized this conversation well in that one line. So well done to you. Bongi, this brings us to the end of our conversation today. It's refreshing being able to sit and have a conversation with an expert on the subject. We're the custodians of this industry, and we need to make sure we look after it and that we look after members' funds.
Please.
And you've given us some great insights. So a big thank you. For me, a big takeaway from today is risk management and compliance is just not a one-sided issue. They are central to safeguarding members' retirement benefits. As we've seen with NEFG, the missing retirement funds and matters of the FSCA, there are weaknesses out there, and members pay the price. So we as trustees and administrators, we need to be vigilant. We need to be proactive, and we need to be committed to building a culture of accountability. To everyone that was listening in today, thank you. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and we look forward to podcasting and publishing a few more in the coming future. So until next time, take care, and thank you very much for your time, Bongi.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to the Guardians podcast, brought to you by Independent Trustee Services. If you found today's discussion valuable, be sure to share it with your network and join us for future episodes. Together we can strengthen governance, promote independence, and safeguard the future of millions of South Africans. You can catch all episodes on our website at independenttrusteeservices.co.za and follow us on LinkedIn for updates and resources.